I've saved my progress as styledparagraphs.ai, found inside the O8 type folder. Now, we've gone ahead and styled the entire poem using two styles, large standard and large first. Big problem is, while those styles work pretty darn well for the very first page, we're going to add a little ornament between these two stanzas that will make things look even better. But after the first two stanzas, things break down, and the second two pages don't look good at all. In fact, notice this stanza right here that begins with, "I chanced by her flat with a flower," and ultimately ends with, "and told me I needed a shower." That stanza gets broken across a couple of pages, and that's just no good. And even worse, we have some overflow text. And it's like 2 lines of type, so it's not worth adding another artboard. What we need to do is apply some new formatting attributes. So we're going to create 2 new paragraph styles. We're going to apply them to our text as needed, and then we're going to update the text automatically by changing out the definition of the paragraph styles. I'll go ahead and grab large standard here inside the paragraph styles panel, and I'm going to drag it and drop it onto the page icon to make a copy. And then I'll do the same thing with large first. And let's go ahead and rename those guys. Make sure no text is selected, incidentally, or you'll apply your styles to that text. So I'm going to double click on large standard copy, and I'm going to change the name of this style to smaller standard, like so. Click OK. And then I'll double click on large first copy and change its name to smaller first. And then click OK as well. All right, now you might have said, well, as long as you were in that dialog box, because you can use that dialog box to modify the definition of a style, you should have gone ahead and modified the definition while you were at it. You should have made the text smaller. Here's the problem. I don't know how it's going to look until I apply these styles to the text and then get some real-time feedback. So I'll switch to the type tool by pressing the T key, and I'm going to select from Together They Made Quite a Couple all the way hopefully to the end of the document. The problem is I can't see the end of the document, so I'm going to have to switch back to my black arrow tool, and I'll click on this final text frame and I'll make it taller. I'll just go ahead and drag the bottom of the frame downward so that we can see all of the overflow text. We'll take care of the fact it goes too low later. But in the meantime, I'm going to grab my type tool once again, 1, 2, 3, and hold click right there and drag to the end of the document like so. Now I'll go ahead and apply smaller standard to that text. And if you end up getting a plus sign, which you shouldn't, because you're working with style text this time around, you can alt-click or option-click in order to override all the differences inside of your text. All right, now we're going to have to reapply the first style. So click inside the line that says Together They Made Quite a Couple and apply smaller first, and then drop down to My Chance Came a Week from Next Sunday, apply smaller first. Click inside I Chanced by Her Flat with a Flower. I realize this is a little bit tedious, but you can't imagine this is so much less tedious than applying all these formatting attributes by hand. So go ahead and click on smaller first to apply it. Click inside the line that reads That morning on Facebook she tweeted. Click on smaller first. Then click on the line, Well, now I sit here in my attic. Click smaller first. And then finally, so thus now I close out my limerick and set it to smaller first as well. All right, now what I want you to do is press the escape key. In order to deselect your text and switch back to the black arrow tool, click off of your text in order to make sure that it is completely deselected. And now let's set about modifying our style definitions. I'll double click on smaller standard in order to bring up the paragraph style options dialog box. And I'll move it over a little bit so that we can keep track of what's going on here inside the document window. Now notice that the preview checkbox is turned on, so we should be able to see what we're doing. I want you to drop down from general to basic character formats. And I want you to change the size value from 29 point to 26 point, and then press the tab key. And next change the leading value from 40 point to 32 point like so. And notice how all of the style text in the background changes. Now you might say, well, Deke, not all of the style text. Together They Made Quite a Couple, and My Chance Came a Week from Next Sunday. Those are all still really big. Well, that's because they're affected by a different style, and we're going to have to change that style independently like so. So I'll go ahead and click OK in order to accept that modification. Here's another way to work. You can update the text first and then redefine the style from that. So I'll go ahead and press the T key in order to switch to my type tool, and I'll triple click inside of that text that says My Chance Came a Week from Next Sunday. Now I'll click on character up here in the control panel, and I'll change the size value to 26 points, so those exact size and leading values that we applied a moment ago. So size 26, leading 32 like so. And that goes ahead and reduces the size of the text so it all fits on one line, which is a really great thing. Then I'll click on the word paragraph up here in the control panel, and I'll have to click twice, once to hide the character panel and once to bring up paragraph. And I'm going to change this paragraph spacing value to 14 point. So just reduce it by 2, and that's it. And press the Enter key or the Return key on a Mac to accept that modification. All right, now keep an eye on these various large lines of type. So together they made quite a couple. I chanced by her flat with a flower. That morning on Facebook, she tweeted. Keep an eye on those 3 lines. If you move over here to the Paragraph Styles panel, you'll see that smaller first now has a plus sign. That means I've applied some local overrides. In other words, there are certain formatting attributes applied to this line of type that do not match the paragraph style. In order to reconcile that, I'll click on the flyout menu icon, and I'll choose this command right there, Redefine Paragraph Style. And that will go ahead and get rid of the plus sign after smaller first. And notice that also automatically reformats every single one of those first lines in the stanzas. And that, my friends, is an example of the incredible level of power and automation afforded by paragraph styles. I'm going to go ahead and hide that panel. I'll press the Escape key in order to switch back to the black arrow tool. I'll press Control-Shift-A, Command-Shift-A on the Mac to deselect everything inside of the document. Click in this final text block and drag the bottom of the text block up until it snaps to the bottom edge of the margin. Of course, bearing in mind that I have bounding boxes turned on. That takes care of most of the formatting of the poem. I still want to further distinguish one stanza from another by introducing an ornamental character, and I'll show you how to do just that with the help of the Glyphs palette in the next exercise.